Hey, jeez, you almost caught me saying something really racist. I almost said Beaner. So welcome to another episode of Nightmare. Oh, my face itches. Welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Deacon. Here with here with my sidekick, the very Mexican.
Yeah.
To say it.
What? Mexican?
No, your name.
Oh, Laura.
A lot of what?
I don't say my last. Just kidding.
Eslasher.
Yep. Yeah, that.
Eslasher. Lara. Anyway, so today we have a very interesting episode, actually. So we decided to take a break from the true crime and and all that kind of stuff, and then it's
Unfortunately.
just well, not unfortunate. It's because there's just so much like I can take, like
hmm
it just makes me murderous. But it just does something to me where like it's not good for me. So I needed a break. So today we're talking about folklore of Latin America. Um, Anyway, so folklore of Latin America. Sorry, guys, we had some brief technical difficulties, but here we are. So folklore from Latin America, or as those of you out there know in the world as Mexican folklore, um,
Only Mexican.
because it's all the same.
It's all Mexican.
Who cares? You're all the same. I'm tired of your folklore. Bringing in your lloronas. Anyway, and so wow, she won't stop crying. I wouldn't have cried. Um, so anyway, so what's crazy is that there's a lot of similarities with a lot of stuff, and I talked about this before, like whether that's because you know it's coincidental, is there like cross contamination, or are these things real and everybody see? You know what I mean?
hmm
Like when you think, for example, see, I can't even say this because it's like when I say something like think of a Mexican scary story, like what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
La Llorona's the first thing.
La Llorona.
Yeah.
And in my country, uh, that's not that. When you say that, something like what the hell is that? Que La Llorona, puta no, mira que
Okay, so over there, that's not like a thing.
no, like they no. So
So what is the thing? Like, what's when I say like a scary
the
story?
the closest thing is La Siguanaba.
No, well, what's the one? What's the first one that pops up like in your head? Like, how
Well,
mira La Llorona? What's the first one for you?
when I think Mexican,
No, like over there, your side.
oh El Salvador. First thing I think about is La Siguanaba.
Okay, they're
La,
similar.
La
Not
Siguanaba
really.
o el cadejo. It's
Okay, yeah.
so that's like the first thing. But if you go to a place like Scotland or Ireland, and then you say like, "Hey, what's the first thing that pops into your mind when you think scary story?" They will both tell you Jenny Green Teeth, and then you're like, "What the fuck is that?" And if you look at Jenny Green Teeth, it's almost the same thing. So Jenny Green Teeth is a woman who she wails and she lives in the swamp and she'll take kids. Like if they get too close to the swamp, she'll come out and Jenny Green Teeth will take them.
A lot of these folklore women do all their stuff around bodies of water.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
I don't know. You think it's just like an easy? I don't know, like okay. Let's say it's all real. Like you think it's easier for them to get through water
Um,
than
maybe.
to have to like I don't know float about or whatever they're doing.
That's a really good question because also like in the folklore, they believe that where there's large bodies of water, they say that they have a lot of energy, so a lot of spirits are able to channel the energy in the water and move through it. So that could be it, like maybe,
Because
you
like
know.
the energy in people, like eventually um gives out, I guess. In water, I don't really think that happens. So you think that maybe it's just like the easiest way for them to just keep going?
Yeah, probably because, like you said, the energy and people stop, but the energy in something like H2O, those molecules are always in motion because
Mhm.
if they stop, they just like vaporize, they evaporate. So they're always going. So they always have to keep a certain amount of motion.
Yes.
So I wonder, yeah, it's probably what it is. They're able to
It's just
move.
like consistent, I guess.
Yeah, it's always consistent, always in motion, so it's like this is easy energy. I can navigate through this. You know,
Mm.
some people have a theory that also that's like the people's way of also keeping their kids away from water, which to me kind of makes sense, but then again, it's kind of like if you get in that water, either you're gonna drown or a gator's gonna take you.
Well,
There's-
it's more keeping them away from water by themselves. Like, don't go
yeah,
towards the water at night. Don't go over there by yourself because, like, this and this is gonna get you. Um, but I don't know. It's a lot of these like things are scare tactics for kids to like behave or stay home. Like when they're supposed to.
yeah, and what's interesting is, well, like Jenny Greenteeth and La Llorona, they're both similar in that sense that they'll take kids, right?
Mhm.
La Siguanaba, she takes men,
Yeah.
like men that are wandering around. Oh, she'll even attack kids, but it's very rare. She'll just turn the kids mentally challenged.
Let me put Let me see. Siwanawa.
La
She's
Siguanaba.
supposed to look. Uh, so she's supposed to have like really long hair.
Yeah.
Have the face of a horse.
Yeah, in some renditions of the story,
And
yes. In
yeah,
some, either she
pretty
has
sure I
a
have is a horse.
either yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So here we have a picture of Sarah Jessica Parker. Now put up a picture of La Siguanaba. No, so in some renditions, yeah, she does have like the face of an actual horse, or it's a
Mhm.
skull, or it's just like a regular like a human skull.
Yeah.
So her story is so okay. So there's two versions of the story. Are you hearing an echo, or is that just me?
I don't hear it.
Oh, okay. Then never shut the hell up. Sorry, guys. I said speak one Nava, and the dogs are on alert. No, so
Can you still hear
the
it?
no, it's gone. So the story of La Ciguanaba, there's two versions of it. So there's the pre-colonial and then there's post-colonial. Pre-colonial is there once was a woman who was very beautiful, right? She was beautiful, and her name was Siwawet. The word Sigua means woman in the old language of Nahualtete, or the old English language. The Pipil people, they had that language, and the Nahualt or the Pipil, they're a off branch off of the Mayans. They're like their own little thing. The difference is that these bastards were cannibalistic cannibals, and so anyway, so these people, right? They had their language. So they believe that this beautiful woman, Sigawet, was so beautiful that even the gods themselves were like, "What do we have here?" You know. So she probably and the description of her, she had the long black hair, she had the big hips, she had like the typical description, right?
Hmm.
So she had those things, and there was a god that took a particular interest in her. His name was Tlaloc, and Tlaloc was the sun god. To the so it also depends on okay. So the Pipil people, he was the sun god. To the Nahual people, he was like the god of thunder. So I why the difference I don't know, but the point is that was his name for her. So he would show up, right? Like once every year he would show up and he would shower her with these like gems. He would shower her with, this jewelry, gold, all kinds of stuff. In some so okay, so here's the concept of it where you see it through those people's eyes. So it says in some renditions it says that he would shower her with food. He would like bring her like it says Miko frito, Miko. And for those of you who don't know, Miko is monkey. That's what they call monkeys. It's like fried monkey or oven baked monkey, all
Mhm.
kinds of fruit, just food he would bring to her. But he one day decides to peek through and then realizes that after she sees him, she's going into the town and she's seeing other men. So,
What a whore.
well, yeah. So then what he does is he places a curse on her and he changes her name to siguanaba,
Mhm.
ugly or horrible woman. So he puts that curse on her and then he curses her to, you know, forever wander, right? And to, it's like you wanted to be a whore, you wanted to go after men, now you will go after men for all eternity, and
Mhm.
and then you will kill them. So post
She isn't it
what?
that she goes after like cheating men and like
Mhm.
reckless men?
Yep, she goes after
Like
men
she
that
would
are
hit her.
drunkards, walking around, at night, looking for a lovely lady to.
A whore. Like her.
Well, yeah, I guess. So, and if you're drunk, so they always tell you like, mira, no pases por los ríos o no pase, and it's just any body of water too. It's not just rivers. They say,
Mhm.
no pases por los lavaderos. A lavadero is a place where women go to wash clothes. It's like a community place where they all just gather around and they all just wash clothes and they gossip and do disgusting women shit like talk. So
Breathe.
so they say don't go near those places because that's what Nava's gonna get. When they say that to the young men, right? So post-colonial, the stories is a little bit different. Post-colonial was there once was this woman, her name was Siwa Wet, right? And she was going out and she wasn't taking care of her son. This version of the story is kind of like in a pre-colonial when they say that she was pregnant by another man's baby. So Tlaloc kind of cursed the child too. He's like, you know what? This child will also be cursed. You call him Cipitio, the child,
Mhm.
and he will forever remain a child, and he will wander around, and he will eat ashes, as a punishment. So like, you get it, he gets it too. Because you're pregnant with not my baby. Um, so post Christianity, I mean post colonialism, the priest started saying that she was a woman that was a drunkard. She would go out and party. She would do all these things. So it says that God cursed her, right? And he's like, now you're gonna do all these things, and not because you're out there, you know, whoring around, but because when you should be at church, you're over there visiting other men. So now you're gonna be and place the curse on her. And another version is a Catholic priest advised her, and this is what's interesting. This is what always kind of gets me is the fact that a Catholic priest saw that she was never at home, that she was never taking care of her son. So a Catholic priest was like, "Y ahora siempre andarás con la cara fea," and a Catholic priest put a curse on her, and that's why she is what she is. So yeah. So what's interesting is that these stories are not just they're not like Bloody Mary. I was like, if you say Bloody Mary, 3 times, and you
Mhm.
say that to an adult, and they're like, get the hell out of here. We're not doing naughty things. Like, get out of here. So instead, in places like El Salvador, these things are life advice. Hey, don't go out at night because I see what Nava's gonna get you. And they're like, oh, thanks for that advice. And they believe it,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, I won't go out. That's the equivalent of you telling somebody, by the way, don't stand underneath a tree because you're gonna get struck by lightning. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, thanks. Same thing to them.
Yeah.
So the culture is really unraveled in sorcery and mysticism. So anyway, so that's the closest thing that you have to La Llorona in El Salvador is La Siguanaba.
Yeah. So like I guess like it just the kid thing is like the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't really go after La Llorona doesn't go after men. Also, like she just goes after kids because she's trying to find hers. She drowned her kids in the river because her husband left her or like cheated on her or something. Just a couple different whatever. Why do they change? You think it's just like the area?
I think it's the area. I think that
Like
somebody
they kind of tweak it for things that are going on in the area, and they're like,
I think so, or it's just like the oral tradition. Like somebody heard it this way,
Hmm.
and then somewhere down the line, somebody told like a slightly different story. And then it happens. Like
Like
what
that
happened?
game, telephone.
Yeah, game of telephone, being telephone. So it's just what?
Hmm?
Huh? I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't have
It's the,
telephones in
oh,
Mexico.
I don't know. Use the can of
The
beans.
can with the string.
The can with the string, and it's like pinto beans. Anyway, so yeah, so I think that's what it is. It's just because there's a couple different stories of why she did it in
Hmm.
Mexico and Texas. Texas is also big with La Llorona.
Yeah. The most popular one that I've always heard is that she drowned them because she was angry because he cheated on her slash left her. And then she just like instantly regretted it. Uh,
And then
and
drown
now
herself, right?
goes back and looks for her. Yeah, she jumped in to try to go and grab her kids or whatever. Obviously she drowned, and now she just goes back to bodies of water and cries for her kids. And if
Yeah.
there are kids by the water, she will grab them, drown them because she thinks they're hers. She's like, my baby, my baby. That's all that she's
Yeah.
crying and
How does
screaming.
she how does she say it?
My baby.
Yeah, in Spanish. How did they go?
Oh, I think she says mis niños.
Mis
But she
niños
has
o mis
multiple.
hijos.
Yeah.
Mis
Have
hijos.
So I have a video of some he's like standing in the rain and all you can hear is the crying. Obviously you never know, if these videos are real or fake, but to the majority of these people, they're real.
Yeah.
Um,
I believe it. I haven't even seen it, and I'm like, yeah.
let me put this one.
Que no creen en la llorona.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you look at something like that, I see. This is the thing: is that when I was a teenager, so when I was a kid, and the power would go out, which happened a lot because we had like a little adobe house, and the cord like that brought power to the house was, and I'm not joking, probably this thin, and it was only enough electricity to power up a light bulb. If you connected something like a television or a fridge, the fucking thing would just melt because it was
It's
like too much.
short, yeah.
Yeah, it was short, so it had a light bulb. So whenever we had a storm, the lights will go out. So we had a candle. And then one of the first things to do was they would always tell you like scary story, like "Mira, Benita, me contar una historia." And I'm like, "Oh no!" And they
Yeah.
tell you, and they would all tell you stories. Mira. What's interesting is that people think that the stories are just like, and then la siguanaba became, blah blah blah. It's usually a personal encounter.
Hmm.
Like, so I've heard several stories like, have you ever seen? And as a kid, you're over there like, have you ever seen her? And then your dad tells you, sí, mira, te voy a contar. Look, I'm gonna tell you. Una vez
Yeah.
andaba yo de noche. One time I was at night, and he tell you this whole story, right? And that there was a. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story that I was told. Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
so so there was an old man that stayed with us on the farm. His name was Don Lencho, and Don Lencho was always seen. He was like our Gandalf. This guy,
Hmm.
super old. He was like 80. Walked around with a machete. He would walk around the fields at night, and he was over there always looking for things, like looking for signs, trying to dispel magic, all kinds of different shit, right? Um, so he would always tell us stories of his travels. So he told a story about how one time he was on a horse, and he says, I was a young man. He was on this horse, and he was riding his horse. Just, yeah. So he was riding this horse, and he
You have
hears
a horse?
yeah, hey
Boy.
everybody. So he was riding this horse, and he says that it was dark. It was like 1 in the morning or something, and he hears a baby crying in the bushes. So he says that he goes, and then he stops the horse, and he sees a little baby, and he picks up this baby, and this baby, he says, is crying the whole way, just wailing. And he was trying to talk to it. He's like, "Mira, ya vamos a llegar. Mira, ya." I was like, "We're almost there. We're almost there." And he's like, mira, no lloré, que ya vamos a llegar. Like, don't cry, we're almost there. So he says that all of a sudden the baby just stopped crying. And then he says he looks down at the baby and he's like, oh, now you stop crying because you know we're almost there. And then he says that the baby stops crying and begins to laugh. He says, and he's not laughing like a regular baby. He says he was laughing and the baby sounds like a full grown woman just burst out laughing. A wild, just cry. And he says that he was like, that he looks at the baby and he says the baby had like an old face. And he says all of a sudden, like from the blankets, like hair just begins to unravel. And yeah, like yours, the hair begins to like unravel. And he goes and he's like, does this. He shows us like his shit, and he's got like scars like on his chest. And he says that and they were kind of spaced out. And he was like, and he showed us, and he's like, mira. And he says that this thing like reached up and then like clawed at him, like ripped his shirt. He says that he drops this baby. He says, and it just begins to crawl around. He says, jumped up a tree and started climbing a tree, laughing, like at him. And then he says that the horse immediately bucked him. He says the horse bucked him. The horse took off.
I'm surprised that the horse would even allow this man to get to the baby.
Yeah, so that's
usually they can sense.
They can sense it. So apparently they tricked the horse too. So the horse takes off running, and he says that he didn't have anything. The only thing he had was una varilla para los bueyes. It's like this long bamboo that you use to stab your oxen to get them to walk. So he says he has that, and he's like stabbing at her, and she's up a tree. And then he says that finally she just like jumps into the river, and he says she's clapping her hands, and then she like lands in the water, and then he says that was it. And then he says he started walking until he found his horse again, and then that was the story he told, right?
What do you think that was?
It's okay. So as a kid, I was terrified. I'm like, holy shit. And I always looked for my father for wisdom. Like, mira, papá, y qué pensás vos? But what do you think? And he's like, see. And I was like, holy shit.
What was it?
So, okay. So my dad said that what it probably was, he says that it could be, mira, puede ser la siguanaba, o tal vez era una bruja, or it was a witch, So he goes to it could possibly be a witch because of what you said earlier about the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so he told me his story, right? And he told me a story how he encountered her, and and that whole thing. So I was terrified. Then as a teenager, I became very skeptical. I'm like, he's probably very tired,
Yeah.
probably really tired or whatever. And then as an adult, I started to believe again. And I'm like, so when I look back at that story, I'm like, I think that probably happened. I mean, and I don't know if it's because you slowly become your parents, or it's just ingrained in you, or like maybe the reality hits you where you're like, this could be real.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a story
of
La Siguanaba. So when I was a younger man at the age of 19, I went to El Salvador to visit. I was doing certain things in my life where I'm like, I better just go visit just in case, something happens. So I went to go visit my cousins and everything. And then they told me, mira, oh, damn it. You have to lock it at that house. I don't care.
What?
And so then I said my name. Who cares? So
I can edit it out.
Who cares? Just leave it in. And they're like, mira. They said, don't walk home alone. Wait for your cousins. We'll all go with you. We'll take candles. We'll take prayer beads. And I'm like, I'm fine. So I'm walking, and I'm walking down like these little, and it's not like here where you're walking down the sidewalk. In that region, it's all jungle. And the way that it works is people carve out like this little path, places. So the path. You just follow it, which there's markers also. So like, okay, I got to turn here. So, because at night, everything blends in. So you kind of like look, and you have a flashlight, and you kind of look like, okay, I know where I'm at. So they'll paint trees. Like they'll put like white stripes on the trees. So you kind of know where you're going. So I'm going, and I'm walking, and through my peripherals, I see something like walking parallel to me. It's like walking next to me. Not like close, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
down. So I'm kind of like amongst the trees. And I'm kind of like, and I kind of look, and then I just keep walking. And then I notice that it walks too. And I don't want to look because I'm like, if this is a person trying to rob me, I don't want them to know that I know they're there.
Mhm.
So I just keep walking, and I just like slowly like, just reach down and I grip my machete, and I just like, you know, and I slide it out just a little bit, just in case somebody runs at me or comes out from behind, I can like unsheath. So I just have my hand on my machete and I keep walking. And then I noticed that when I stopped, it stopped. And I was like, okay. But for those of you who don't know, the jungle is noisy. As you walk through, like the rustling of leaves, things breaking, and I noticed that thing's not making any sound. So I was like, what the fuck? So I keep walking, and it's walking parallel to me. Then finally I stop, and I look down, and I'm pretending like I'm looking for something, and I kind of just glance over, and then I can't see its face, but I just see like what looks like hair, like covering the face, and then I'm like, I must be really exhausted, and my brain started thinking a lot of things. So I'm like, I'm either exhausted, or maybe it's an old lady that saw someone walking on the path and she's scared, and she's like, maybe I'll go with this guy. Just think, a lot of things happen. So, and I keep walking, and then I notice that I'm beginning to hear the crunching, but like next to me, and
Mhm.
it's not me. So then, I'm walking, and then I kind of like glance over, and there's no one there. But then now I see through my peripheral. Now it's on the other side. And then I'm walking. I'm like, son of a bitch. And then I'm like, could this be? And I said, just in case. Just in case. I read. It sounds so stupid. I pull out my machete, and then I just like bite down on it, because that's another thing. Is like, if you want a siguanaba to go away, you bite on your machete. And
Mhm.
I just kind of just give it like like very skeptical, but I didn't want to look stupid. Like I didn't want. I'm gonna bite down, and somebody's gonna be like, "¿Qué estás haciendo?" You know, So like, what are you doing? So then I go
But
and I
at the
just
same time, I mean, they believe in it over there. They wouldn't have, you
yeah,
know.
but that's where my brain was going. Somebody's gonna think I'm stupid. Somebody's gonna think. So I just kind of like barely inch my teeth, and then it sounded like a giant bird just flew away, just like flew off.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay. So I like kept my machete to the side, and I kept walking. All of a sudden, walking by myself, no one next to me, no crunching, nothing. Then I walked, and then I was during the day, I was telling my family, like, you guys are so stupid. How can you como a creer esto, no? So I never told them because I was so embarrassed. I
Yeah.
just got home, and
I do.
oh, you caminaste solo? You walk by yourself? And I said, yeah. And they're like, any trouble? I'm like, no, none at all. And I didn't sleep that night, just rattling my brain. What the hell was that?
I'd be
Probably,
embarrassed.
right? It's embarrassing. Could you
Yeah.
imagine you calling everybody an idiot, you stupid jungle beans, just shit
Yeah.
like that? Um, so yeah, the thing that always stuck with me was that sound, was the fact that I just barely inched my teeth to it, and I just kind of like I didn't even bite down like they say. I just kind of like all of a sudden I just heard like a
What if it was a lechuza?
well, that was my first thought, but this sound was gigantic. Like it wasn't like a regular owl.
They are big.
Yeah, but not that big. The wings, you gotta understand, like
Well, lechuzas, they're supposed to be like, bigger than a normal. It's supposed to like stand tall, like some
yeah.
gigantic.
So you mean like a witch lechuza?
Yeah.
Okay, but again, oh, maybe. I mean, but they're not going to be scared of you biting a machete, because that's not
Well,
their.
I guess. Yeah, yeah.
But also, yeah, but also lechuzas kind of stay away from dense jungles, because again, they need to fly,
Hmm.
and all those branches get in the way. They're more like in the open, like ranges.
Hmm.
But this was like very dense jungle, and that sound just never left me. The
Yeah.
like the taking off, you know, and it was just like one of those things where I'm like, am I going crazy?
There was no livestock around.
No, no, not here. And it sounded like, I swear I can like even feel like the air of the wing flag, whatever it was. But
And
it
like
was
the whole
just,
like flying thing, like
yeah, it was so creepy. I look back now, and the fact that I kind of like looked down and I could see it on this side,
hmm
just somebody just like walking, and then the fact that I keep walking and I hear the sound this way. I hear the sound this way, but I look down and now I can see it on this side. Like it kind of like shifted.
Yeah.
Probably just like fucking with me. So in the dense jungle where there's like no river, the next thing is they drop you down a barranco, like a pitfall, like a cliff,
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, and this is one of the stories, is that she looks like a beautiful woman. So she'll kind of like, and if you're drunk or if you're like a guy that's after every girl, and if a woman that you're like, that's very desirable, you're gonna fall for it, right? So, or it's like the magic, like it's able to like enchant you, just like to blindly follow until at the last second it reveals its face and it scares you to death, or it makes you mentally handicapped, or it makes you really sick, or it makes you fall to your death.
Mhm.
So in some stories, like I have one of my cousins told me a story that one time he was leaving this party and he was a little drunk. So I'm always like, you were just drunk. So he was a little drunk and he says he's walking down that same little path, by the way, on that same little path, and then he looks over and there was a woman like standing there, and she was like wearing white, and she was like calling him. And then he kind of like looked and he's like, I know what you are. And then he kept walking and he says that she like opened, and then he's like, what if it's not? What if it's not? So he says that he's like, you know, he didn't say this, but I'm gonna say this. He's probably like, well, if you're walking on ice, you might as well dance. So he was like walking towards her. He says that he stopped short, like thinking like, what am I doing? He says that a couple feet ahead there was the drop off, and she was like standing on nothing.
Like a siren type of situation.
That's an interesting thing, because just like the siren, sometimes you'll hear like somebody washing clothes, or you hear somebody humming or singing, softly, and then you look over and that's how she gets your attention, and she's just there calling you over, waving you over, and they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna get laid. Oh, but I mean that's an example of like La Siguanaba and Jeez, sorry, I've been drinking too much. La Siguanaba in my family's culture, it's like it's very ingrained. So if you tell anybody, like, what happened to you last night, they say, why are you walking at night? Don't you know La Siguanaba's out there? I have a
And for Mexicans, that's not really something that I hear. The main one is La Llorona, basically. Like that's the one that they tell kids about, like being like out by yourself or like whatever. Another thing that you said you hadn't heard of was La Mano Pachona.
yeah.
Yeah, that one's I heard about it in elementary from some kid I went to school with that was from Mexico. And I'm like, what even is that? I think we were like in third or fourth grade or something. And um, he said it was this like hairy hand that like comes up and like grabs kids if they're misbehaving, or like grabs them like out of bed if they don't go to sleep, grabs them like out from the window. Sometimes it'll just choke you.
It's so creepy, because a lot of that is go to bed. If you don't go to bed,
Hmm.
this thing will kill you. This thing will
Yeah.
grab you. And I've never heard of the hairy hand, but I have heard that if you're a kid and you're misbehaving and you're not in bed and this is what they tell you. They say, hey, go to bed at the time you're supposed to, because if you're up and you're running around and you're making noises, a witch is going to hear you. And then a witch is going to know exactly which house, you're in. So, and they'll tell you stories. Like if you're laying there in bed and you're just, fucking around, I'm going to get us demonetized. If you're fucking around, they say that you won't even know it. Just her hand will reach through the window, grab you by the feet, and pull you out. Or the scariest part, and what's interesting is that in some places they'll actually put a piece of iron, whether it's an iron machete, or just like a piece of just like raw iron underneath the bed, because if you don't, the witch will reach up from under the bed and then grab you and pull you under. And
How do
then
you deal with like the bed thing? Because like that, like the mano patrona that I was talking about, like that's where it's supposed to be like a man of some a hand of a man that got killed. He was like falsely accused of robbery or something, and he's like, oh, like I'm gonna come back like for vengeance or whatever, and he takes children. I don't
The vengeful spirit. And what's interesting is that what you just said, like he'll come back, and he'll wreak vengeance, and he goes after the kids, just like the Pied Piper. I mean, there's a lot of stories out there where either spirits or people will come back for revenge, and they target children.
See, well, like the bed thing is what I find weird. How you said they put like a piece of iron under the
Yeah.
bed, and then when was it, like last week or something? We were talking about the egg thing. You put
Yes.
the egg under the bed.
Yeah.
Like, what is the deal with the putting things under the bed?
I think it's because you're the most vulnerable. What's interesting also, like if you go to places like Germany or Scotland or Ireland and all those kind of places, you put iron underneath the bed, you put iron shavings on the window because the fairies, will come and they'll take your children. But what dispels magic? Iron. So they're afraid of it. Iron supposedly burns witches, burns fairies, it burns certain entities. So, but yeah, and you know what's it like? Okay, so you said the egg thing. So the Latin American culture is so ingrained in mysticism to this very day that a lot of people will do things like the egg thing. If you're sick, if your child's sick, take an egg, rub it on their body. And you were kind of talking about that, and you're like, da, 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 And
It
I'm like,
works.
and I'm like, that's sorcery.
It works.
Like, yeah, I know it works. It's witchcraft. Um, it's witchcraft, but a lot of people don't even see it like witchcraft. A lot of people see it like that's just what you do when your kids are sick. Rub an egg, if they have like tremors or if they're like cold for no reason because they're sick, rub an egg, but be sure. And this, okay,
There's a
this
certain
is
way to do it, but
yes, there's a technique to do it. Rub it on the feet, so like rub it on the,
you have to do it outwards.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there you see, it's so sick, so disgusting. But that's what my father would never allow that. Doesn't matter how sick I got. There was neighbor women that's like, "Voy a traer un huevo," and my dad's like, "Que no se la atreva a traer esa porquería en mi casa." And he was very. Let me give you an example. There was one time I got really sick. I got yellow fever from a mosquito.
Jeez.
So yeah, I almost died. So I was very sick. I was shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't drink water because I would projectile vomit. That's how you die is dehydration. So I was just
like when you get what is it, like rabies or something? Like you're like scared. You get this thing where you're like scared to drink water.
Yeah, you get hydrophobia. It's so much that your body begins to push it out,
It rejects it, yeah.
and you foam at the mouth because your body's just shoving your saliva out, and you die of dehydration. So anyway, so I was really sick, and then this lady's like, vamos a traer un huevo. And it wasn't just any egg. Vamos a traer un huevo de un pato, a duck egg. Like the duck has always been seen as a very mystical animal, like it has magical properties. Same thing with the rabbit. The rabbit is seen like a very magical animal. I always found them delicious. Anyway, so she's like, va a traer un huevo de pato. And my dad said, mire, le voy a decir una cosa. I'm going to tell you something. Si usted trae un huevo a mi casa, if you bring an egg to my house, yo la mato, because I'll kill you. And then they're like, no, okay, I get it, So yeah, and people were saying like, it's gonna work, he's gonna die, and my dad's like, you do not bring that into this house, I'll kill you. And that's how my dad is.
My whole family.
Well, with the egg, because it works. So I've seen it done, and again, it's just one of those things where I don't know if it was coincidence, but there was a kid who was very, very sick. And they rubbed this egg on him. And they said that it was due to a bad spirit. A bad spirit was tormenting him. So they take this egg outside this house and they throw it against the tree, and the damn egg was rotten. And they got this egg from the chicken coop. So it's not like it was a rotten egg, it was a fresh egg. And it's
so when you do it, afterwards, if you like look at it, It's very weird. Like the stuff that you, I guess, can like see. I've done it on myself. I don't know if that's like a thing you're supposed to do, but I did.
Yeah,
Um,
you can.
and it's weird.
When you
You
do it on
know,
your when you do it on yourself, like with an egg, you're not supposed to look at it when it's over your face. I don't know why it is, but they're like, close your eyes as you're doing it, but you can't look at it. I don't know why, but then when you do like the rest of the body, yeah, it's
yeah. I guess maybe because it's so close to your. Um, but yeah, like
chakras.
you crack it into like a cup of water. So like for example, this one, since it's tall, like you fill it, like let's say halfway with water, put it
Yeah,
in there, and you look at it. If it's
and
bad, you
you could see it. It's like
get rid of it.
spiky or it's like whatever the hell it is,
Mhm.
So and that's so bizarre. So like I said, it's so ingrained in the culture that some shit like this isn't even weird. And they're like, "Oh, did you try the egg thing?" Like, "Yeah, I did." They're like, "Oh, that's strange. Try it again." It's like, oh, "Okay, I'll do that."
Yeah.
And the fact that like you're so skeptical when it comes to things like that, you're like witchcraft.
Well,
But then it's like you with unknowingly you're doing the egg thing and all that kind of shit. Like, that's sorcery, right? And you're like, I never thought about it because it's so in the culture.
it's yeah. Okay, so like it's not that it's like unknowingly, like obviously it's not like I just think that like an egg is gonna cure everything just because like obviously there's something else there, but like it's just like a normal thing. Like it was done to me, it was done to my sister, it
Yeah.
was done to my parents, like you know everybody in my family and before that just have been doing it.
Well, yeah, it's just something to do. It's like, yeah, why? And if you don't, they're like, why wouldn't you do that? It's like, oh,
Yeah, because like
and
when medicine doesn't work,
you turn to, and that's
heal yourself
what's
with an egg.
what's interesting, and that reminds me of a book called Caesar, written by Julius Caesar, and there's a great thing when he's talking about these Ilduи tribes, and then he was saying when our medicine because the Roman Empire enslaved a lot of people, and he kind of like, okay, you're political slaves. Okay, whenever we need you to fight a war, you come forward, but we'll take care. We'll bring supplies, we'll bring all these things. Until then, whenever we call you, you better show up. So they would bring the medicine, and then he writes at the Elduis. He said, when our medicines failed to help them, they turned to their sorcery. And that line always stuck with me because that's just something that I saw growing up. It's like, dale Tylenol, no sirve Tylenol, traete las hojas. Here's
Mhm.
when, okay, so I learned how to speak, and this is what they say. I learned how to speak like how to actually talk when I was 6 months old. I was talking, I was forming phrases, I was doing all these things, and okay, this is what everybody says, okay, and they
Okay.
said that I wouldn't even babble when I was that little. And so
Mm.
then my grandmother was like, tiene la lengua amarrada. His tongue is tied. So they did two things. They went out and they went out and then they got these the leaves from a lemon tree. They say climb to the very top, bring a leaf from a lemon tree, put a drop of rainwater, not just water, drop of rainwater, and then give it to him. And if that doesn't work, give him parrot soup. And then that they said that, and this is the story, and that they went and they did that whole thing because apparently a 6-month-old baby isn't like asking that he wants to eat frijoles or some shit. I don't know. So they did that, and then they said that same afternoon I started talking, just like saying things here and there, and I heard this story from many like aunts and uncles and my grandmother, and whenever my dad is a no bullshit guy.
Mhm.
Like he'll tell you. So then I asked him, and he's the opposite of me, like in a lot of ways. Like for example, if you ask him, like, "Mira, verdad que me pusieron like, is it true that they did the leaf?" And he goes, "Sí," and that's it. So I was like, "Sí." Is it true that they did the leaf thing? And I started talking that afternoon. He goes, "Yeah," and that was it. That's the end of it. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, shit. I guess it happened." You know, and
So
then when
what is that though? Like, is that just like a a cure for like a certain thing.
So they say that when a baby won't babble, like when he won't babble, it's because he's tongue tied.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
but I mean like the leaf and
it,
the rainwater.
and it's supposed to release, like allow you to like say like it's okay to talk,
Hmm.
and then I guess that my father was very upset when he found this out. He was pissed. He, you know, he was angry at his mother. He was angry. He beat my uncle's ass. He did all these things because he found out, and they did this while he was visiting somewhere else. He's like, I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. And he left. And I was like, why? And then it hit me. I'm like, because it's sorcery, you know? And yeah. So that's what it is. It's supposed to like break any enchantment that somebody, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, I think like because I'm super skeptical with a lot of things, but it's just like, the normal things like the egg thing. That,
That egg thing, the normal thing.
that's normal. Like, it's just a thing that like has always happened. Um, I don't know, like, you send it away if it's bad. It's
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So like somebody, for example, so right now I looked up hoja de limón para bebé, and basically they're saying, look, and this is Doctor Carrera de el pediatra, logra que tu bebé hable rápido con estos remedios. Tenga una hoja de un limón, el limón más cerca al sol, the tallest leaf,
Yeah.
y póngale agua llovida, rainwater, y póngasela a la lengua, y esto le ayudará para que su bebé se desenrade, untangle. This is from a doctor in El Salvador.
Yeah.
I just typed it in on Google, and that's what it said.
It's so weird.
So it's just like it's part of the like. Imagine saying that shit here, like, "Oh, my child won't talk because he could have autism," They're like, "Oh, go get a like." If a doctor said that to you,
Yeah.
he'd lose his damn license. Like,
Yeah.
get the hell out of here, you witch doctor.
And I've been to doctors that have mentioned like the egg thing.
Yeah.
And it's just because I guess like it's just so normal like for Mexicans. I don't know. Like
Because again, it's the culture. We're getting away from what the original part of the show, and we're more like, but it's just fine. I like this. I
yeah.
like this kind of stuff because it's fun to relate.
Mhm.
Because it's a lot of people won't understand this. They're like, why would you do like you just don't
Yeah.
get it. It's just normal.
It's just normal.
Like
Like for you, the egg thing is not a
um
thing.
it's not a thing for a different reason.
Well,
It's
because of your dad.
because of what it is. It's
Mhm.
sorcery.
See,
Uh,
and with my family, it's never been seen as like it's witchcraft, like whatever. It's just a remedy. It's a home remedy.
yeah,
Cure yourself with an egg. But
it's a
like
home.
I get, that it's not like a normal, especially if you're reading it after, like, people would be like, "What do you mean you're reading an egg? Like, what are you talking about?" And then like, "Oh, it's bad. Put a bunch of chili powder and flush it
Yeah,
down the toilet." Like,
yeah. It'll flush it
yeah.
down the toilet, pour it in a river.
Mhm.
What's the other one?
You can like
Throw
throw it in like dig a hole and put it in there.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that one too. Like
Mhm.
if it's dark, like if it has spiky like things in there and you see like a tint of gray or black, like
Mhm.
immediately bury it.
If there's
Um
blood in it,
yeah, it's
um,
it's just stuff like that.
yeah.
Somebody's
Got to do
messing
it
with
away
it.
from your house though.
Yep, you got to do it out of your house, like
Yep.
away. So, but I mean, stuff like that, like it's just so bizarre because it's so in the culture that it's normal. That's what's normal. Like if I were to say like I don't believe in the egg thing, in El Salvador, people would be like, "What is wrong with you?" Just like if I were to say, I don't believe in el cadejo, and they're like, "What are you stupid? Like, how could you not believe?"
El cadejo.
And and I have a story of el cadejo. So el cadejo. Okay, so going back to the folk, we have like 10 minutes now
I
because we've been
know.
talking about
So ridiculous.
um
I put a picture of. I haven't even been putting the pictures. Okay, let's see
yeah.
real quick. So this is La Llorona.
Yeah, so hot.
That's okay. I was gonna say something, but never mind. This is a mano pachona. That's the hairy hand.
Looks like Robin Williams' hand when they like found him. El cadejo blanco y el cadejo negro.
and yep. So like, what your story is about? Which one?
Okay, so el cadejo. Okay, again, we go back to pre and post. Pre-colonial is um the god Tlaloc. Again, he's making a reappearance because he was also seen as the god of magic for men and women. Okay, and then you have the god Techlicotla, I think it is, and he was like almost like the moon god, I think. So he was kind of like he was more like so some versions say that he was the god of the women, and some would say he was the god of like the nighttime, right? And it was so interesting because the god of the man is like the god of the sun of the daytime. The god of the women was the goddess of the night, right? So one day, you have the god Tlaloc, and he was like, "Damn, like men are really having a hard time down there. Life is just shitty. You know, they're lost spiritually. When they die, they can't." So he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna make a spirit guide that's gonna help them. It's el cadejo blanco, the white cadejo."
Is another
And
thing.
oh
Didn't.
yeah, that's supposed to confuse and dispel the mal de ojo, the evil eye. You know, so because it confuses which eyes are yours. You know, and usually they go for the brightest or the most attractive eyes. So of course it's blue and white and other kind of like different colors and the
Lighter.
rest. Yeah. So instead of the shitty brown. Anyway, so so they've always believed that dogs have always been like men's guides through life because they walk with you and they kind of help you. In the afterlife, they believe that your most loyal dog is the one that looks for you and at the afterlife. All right, let's go. You know, I'll guide you. You know, you guided me through life by, you know, helping me. Now I'll help you. So, but then you had the evil god, of course, the goddess of women, created the black dog. He's like, you know what? This is gonna bring you bad luck, disease. You're gonna get lost. If you're wandering around at night, this thing's gonna kill you. So that was that version. The post-colonial version said that one day God noticed that men were having a hard time out in the field. They're like, oh man, they need a little bit of help, so I'm gonna create the white dog to help them. The devil was like, I don't want these people to have help, so he created the black dog. El cadejo blanco, el cadejo negro. So supposedly, when you're walking around at night, el cadejo will find you, and he will fuck you up. Like he will
But
beat your.
you'll see one of two.
So okay, so here's what it is. So you'll either find so if you're a good person, like if you're a nice guy, you're hard work, and the whole thing is the culture is really big on labor. So it's like if you're a hardworking man, El Cadejo Blanco will follow you and he's protecting you. He'll protect you against la siguanaba. He'll protect you against robbers. He'll protect you against anything, even El Cadejo Negro.
El
So
silbón.
the what?
El silbón.
Yeah, it'll protect you
scared
from
of dogs.
anything because it was beginning to get dark here. So el silbón is just somebody that whistles and all kinds of shit. It's this whole thing. And what's funny is we just had an episode and on there we're talking about Appalachia, the Appalachian Mountains, and on there they have also a myth that sounds just like El Silbón. Somebody whistle at night because they'll whistle back.
The whistle is weird. Like if you were to hear it, like it's I wouldn't want to hear that if I'm like walking around at night.
Do you have a video?
I have the sound, yeah.
Let's see. I've heard it before.
Let me lower it a little bit because it's kind of loud.
You know what's crazy? I just got goosebumps. I've heard that before. I've heard it two places.
Did I send you the video of the sound that I heard outside?
Yes.
I think I did, right? The
It's,
like screaming type of sound.
yeah, it sounds like el gritón. No, it does. So yeah, I've heard that whistling before,
hmm
and I've heard it actually twice. Once as a child, once as a grown man. When I heard it as a child, I just heard that, and it doesn't translate like it sounds like very rhythmic or whatever, but when you hear it in person, it's almost like the sound like goes up and down, and you could feel it like go through you almost.
But it's also like like you don't know where it's coming from.
It sounds like that's what I was gonna say. It sounds like it's everywhere,
It's
like at once.
everywhere.
So, and I remember, and I'll never forget. See, again, I'm getting fucking because that triggered a memory. So
hmm
I remember when I was a kid, and this was midnight, one something in the morning. My dad and I were waiting for the water to come because we just freshly got water pipes installed on the property from the city, and the city was miles away. And you had to wait for it at night because they would only turn it on once the city was done using water. They would turn it on for the people, out there, like way out there. You guys go last. So, and the water trickles, and then you got to start filling up buckets because that's the only fresh water you can get unless you want to go down to the river. Um, so I remember we were out there, and all you hear is like the sounds of outside, the bugs, the birds, very faint sounds of a woman laughing in the distance, and then my dad's like, "Shh, tranquilo." I was like, okay. And then I begin to hear it. And it's going and it's echoing, and I can, like, it hit me. Like the sound, I was kind of like, oh, and I remember it jolted me. And then immediately my first thought was, I can either whistle back or I can try to see where that sound's coming from because it was rhythmic. Like, and
Do you
then my
think
dad,
it's like energy being sent out?
I really don't know what it is. I just remember that, and my dad's like, tranquilo, like, calm down. And then he told me very quietly, he's like, bring the dogs out. And then I was like, ¿qué? He's like, saca los chuchos, bring the dogs out. So then he goes and he has to literally shove me in that direction because I was just like, like this urge of curiosity
That's what I'm
was
saying. Like you think it's like energy being sent out, I guess, like as a way to attract you towards the sound.
probably because I had this urge to go find out. And this was pitch black. This is
Like
not like
siren, like everything
there's
else.
yeah, there's nothing out. You can't see shit. You can't even see your hand unless the moon's out. You can't see your hand in front of your face. You just
hmm
see like the stars, and then you hear the sounds. And I remember I wanted to go out there, not being able to see, just go out there and kind of see what the sound was. So I
Yeah.
remember he was like, "Let the dogs out." So I let the dogs out, and the sound is going, and then the dogs come out, and they're just like, like their sounds are making, and they're now looking around, and the whistling stopped mid whistle, and it just stopped, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Yeah, okay." And then he's like, "All right, sit down." And then I remember I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" As a grown man, I heard it. This was in a place called Mink Creek. This is in Idaho. It's in the canyon area mountains. And I remember just sitting there with a friend of mine. We're out there just like talking, and then all of a sudden, from the woods, just same song. And I remember it hit me hard.
I was gonna say like that had to have
So
triggered your brain like
like it jolted me like really hard, and it's like what's that? And I was like, we need to get in the fucking car right now. And it's like, oh, all right. I'm like, we need to get in the fucking car, you know. And then I just remember that curiosity started to hit me, like, where is that coming from,
mhm.
you know? And then I recognized it, and I'm like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I got in the car, blasted the radio, just got the fuck out of there. But yeah, it was instant. Like it brought me back. It's so like when I hear that sound, like it just like gave me like goosebumps immediately. It's almost like it
Mhm.
triggered something. And
Yeah.
it's just bizarre because it's like that's what I mean by I was skeptical as a teenager, but then as an adult, I'm like, yeah. And I don't know what it was, like honestly, like what it was that made me so skeptic. Like maybe it's the rebellious in it, like saying this culture's stupid, but then eventually you just come back to it, you know.
Hmm.
And I always like like I always turn to my like, damn, when my dad dies, you know, when I beat him to death, it's just one of those things where it'll just be the world will be different because
Hmm.
he's always somebody that can be like, mira, ¿y qué pensás? Or mira, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you think? And then my dad's always like, and he tells me like something, and it's almost like, yeah, I think you're right. It's not like wisdom, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's like my Gandalf, you know? So like with all these things, and he was always relaxed. Like he never panicked.
Hmm.
He never did any of these things. Like he was
Well,
always
because when you believe in these things fully, I think like a lot of the people kind of do that whole like they can sense your fear, you know, like you have to relax, like calm down, they're gonna know.
yeah. But
Um,
it's always like tranquilo, calm down. And he
mhm,
always has like he has a much deeper voice than I do, but he's always like speaking and it sounds very like not monotone, but like very deep.
mhm,
So if something were to go down of that nature and he says something like, you know, tranquilo, like you're like, okay. Because it's almost like there's this feeling of I wouldn't say maybe it's serene in a way. Like he just has like that ability just to mellow you out. Like, you know what?
mhm.
It's okay. We'll figure this
Like
shit out.
actual reassurance.
Well, yeah, it's the whole reassurance, but it was also the like the knowledge, you know? Like have you ever seen that show Supernatural? And the dad had like a notebook that he gave to them, so then something happens and they're like flipping through the page and the dad had notes. It's like that's this monster. That
I've
would
seen
be
a
my
couple episodes.
yeah, that would be my father. My father would be like, "What
Mm.
the hell is that?" Or we would be walking and then he's like, shh. And I was like, what? ¿Qué pasa? Tener cuidado. Que por aquí. He's like, hay un duende. All right, there's something right near here. One of the things that always to this very day, I've never, I don't know. It's like the weirdest shit. But like walking, and my dad will just like stop mid walk, and I just see him like unsheath the machete slowly, and he's like, "Aquí hay una bruja. There's a witch around here."
Hmm.
And I was like, really? I go, sí, seguí caminando. And I'll never forget this. Okay, there was a time, damn, I could live to be 100. And this memory always stuck with me. We were walking, and we were walking into town right here. The place where we lived, um, the roads were so bad, vehicles couldn't travel because they'll get stuck in the mud, and there was no way for you to go. So you had to walk for at least 8 miles before you get to some road where there might be cars. So we would start really early. We'd start at 3 in the morning walking, and then we'd finally get into town like maybe at 6 or 7. So we'd be walking at 3 in the morning through this darkness. My dad had a
Same as
flashlight.
a puente driving.
Yeah. So he had a flashlight, and these were not the LED lights you have now. These were the orange, shitty. They only like illuminated like 15 feet in front of you. And one thing you always shine your light is at the floor because you don't know, you might step on a snake, you know, a
Mhm.
hole. You never know. So just walking through, and then I just remember him like, shh. And I was like, what? Que hay una bruja. And just unsheath, shink, you know, the sound of the machete. And then he just stands there. And then he looks, and he's like, ahí estás. He's like, there you are. And then all of a sudden, you see a big fucking owl just like just fly off into the darkness.
Mhm.
You know, because he'll shine his light at it, and then just gigantic owl, you know, just fly off, and he's like, we can go.
So you think that's like sensing things or just
He
kind of like a intuition?
he says you can smell the sorcery. He says witches stink.
Mm.
He says you know when a witch is near. He says because they smell, like they have a certain smell. He says es que la bruja hiede. Hiede is stinks.
Yeah.
Que la bruja hiede. La brujería que hacen hiede. It's like it stinks. And I was like, what does it smell like? He said he can't explain it. It just stinks.
You think it depends on the type of witch?
I no any kind of witch.
Just any?
any kind of witch, any type of magic, any type of sorcery things.
Mhm.
I have another story where, dude, that's a story for a different time. Do I tell it? I'll tell it slightly. So my parents came to visit, and and so I went over there like, oh, ¿cómo está, papá? Mira, da, da, da. How you doing, father? You know, I go and I hug him, and then he stops, and I'm like, ¿qué pasó? And he's like, hueles como una bruja. You smell like a witch. And I was like, and that was it. So that's where the story stops.
Yeah.
So it was just that he like stops, and he's like, you smell
Say
like,
you stink, man. Get out of here.
yeah, he's like, you smell like a witch. And so anyway, so it was just like always those things, and I think it was also like the level, because some of it you had to get really close
Hmm.
to like smell it, you know, or if it was, I think it might have been like also the power behind it, where you can smell it for like half a mile,
Hmm.
like that. Like he was like, there's a witch, like just like hay una bruja, there's a witch here, and it wasn't like, well, I mean, it maybe it was just coincidence to happen, you know, but no, it wasn't. He pauses and he's smelling the air like he's Wolverine, just like smelling, and then he's looking around and he's smelling like a damn dog, and then finally he like shines his light up in a tree and he sees it, and this thing like song just, and he said, "There you are!" Like he shouted, like, "There
Hmm.
you are!" And then it just like flies off,
Yeah.
you know. And it wasn't like, I've seen owls, I've seen lechuzas. This fucking thing was gigantic. It was like the
Yeah.
size of a big turkey, of like a nice 80-pound turkey. It's delicious. You know, it's like this big, and it just flew off. And it didn't. So normally they would fly off into like a vast field. This thing flew like in the direction of houses, which they
Mhm.
don't do. You know,
No.
so
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, this thing's going home. So I'll never forget that. You know, and it was just like one of the weirdest memories. You know, and
Yeah.
and that's just how he is. And now he lives back in El Salvador. He's out there in that same area where we grew up. He's there, just him and my mother by themselves, you know, out there with his magical machete, you know. It's
I mean, it saved you.
the what?
I said it saved you.
Yeah, so the magic machete. He also and he does things that um people don't like. Okay, so here's another story. I remember one time I was a kid, and these neighbors came, and these were like campesinos. These were like people of the field. You know, they're out there. They can't read. They can't write. They dedicate themselves to the field. No education, and they're very mild mannered, right? I remember, like, I'm gonna use this example. So one of them shows up and he like takes his hand and he's like, Don Manuel, mire que hay un animal malo. There's a bad animal. He says, we've tried catching it, lo queremos atrapar, y no, y mordió a Lázaro, he bit Lazarus, and now he has a fever. And my dad's like, okay. So my dad says, okay. And he goes with them to try to find this. And then my dad finds what is called escobillo. It's a type of weed. It's long. And then he grabbed this escobillo, and I remember he cut it with his machete and he wrapped it around a machete, around a regular machete, not his magical machete, around a regular machete made out of iron, and he set it on the ground. And it's so fucking weird. This is so weird. So he set it out there, and he said, "Vámonos." He said, "Let's go." So they left, and they sat there by a campfire, and all of a sudden I remember hearing just whack, like this pig squealing at night. This pig just squealing, making the pig sounds. I don't know if you ever heard the sound of a pig screaming.
You're so disgusting.
Yeah. So then my dad told me, "Stay here, quédate aquí." And of course I didn't. I was like, "No, I'm going." Number one, because I was probably scared to stay there by the camp by myself, so I kind of followed behind. And he
Mhm.
sees I was with him, but he's like, "Whatever." So he gets out his machete, and there's this pig on top of this machete, and it's screaming because it can't. It looked like he was almost tied down, and he couldn't get away, and he was like screaming, and he's like, spitting. He's doing all these things, And then my dad told me, turn around and shut your eyes. And then I was like, oh, okay. I turn around, I shut my eyes, and I can just hear this machete just going, and I can hear the sound of meat, just going everywhere.
Mm.
And then my dad told him, he's like, whenever you feel like there's a una bruja, he says, and you don't know what it is, he says, find this plant. It's called an escobillo. And this is where they get a lot of, in this region, he says, this is where they get their magic from. He says, you tie it around a machete, he says, and then you just drop it on the ground, and then they will go and they can't leave.
Okay, so he didn't want an egg coming near you, let's say, or he wouldn't want an egg coming near you because witchcraft, but he does his own form of.
But that's not seen as witchcraft.
No, like his own form of
his own
yeah.
They call it trucos de un matabruja. They're called like witch killer tricks.
Mm-hmm.
So escobillo, same thing with la siguanaba. What's interesting enough, so if they say that la siguanaba is near you, if you grab escobillo, don't rip it out. If you grab escobillo and you wrap it around your hand and you just hold it and you kind of give it a little tug without ripping it off the ground, they say you'll see her head turning because you're pulling her hair. So, and then he says if you like hold on to it, eventually she'll like plead with you to let her go, and you let it go and she'll run away. And they say that her hair, el pelo está hecho de escobillo. Her hair is made out of escobillo, and it's like a weed that has, I don't know, it's like magical property. I don't know what it is, but it's used to trap witches. It's used to trap all these things. So yeah, if a whenever comes by you and you're by a monte and there's escobillo, wrap it around your hand, they say, and just pull on it, and you literally see her hair like her head just yank because you're pulling her hair.
She just needs to get a haircut.
Yeah, well, she can't. It's part of her curse. Some versions she drags it, through the ground. And so
Mine.
yeah, like yours. I'll pull escobillo. Anyway, so that's it. Damn, we're out of time. We were out of time 10 minutes ago. This this topic is just so good. Like I can talk about this for days. Like literally, just so much. And then I always wonder, like, how the hell can I be so skeptical with all these kind of things? And I think that it's just part of you. It's just kind of like you don't want to believe it.
Yeah. We
And
could do a part 2 with more
yeah, there's a lot more
witchcrafty things I haven't told you about.
Oh, all right, let's do that. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. This episode was brought to you by Loot by Lottie. You guys go ahead, and if you guys type in Lucky Loot, you guys get 10% off your first order. Check out Sean Burris, the Shadow Nation. Actually, is it Groceries and Ghosts, or is it Ghosts and Groceries?
I think it's Groceries and Ghosts.
Groceries and Ghosts, his new show. Go check that out. It's Shadow Nation. Shadow Nation. Go check that out. And the Silver Witch. Go ahead, go on eBay, go ahead, type in Silver Witch. You get all of her bags of spells. Pretty soon, I keep saying this. Pretty soon, Tactical Armament. They said they would jump on. So for all your tactical needs, defend yourselves against the living. And that's about it. And actually, also check out the merch. I got some new stuff out there. So I gotta do some more like Salvadorian folklore art, huh?
Mexican.
Or Mexican. It's the same shit.
All Mexican.
One's from the desert, one's from the jungle. They're all part of the same bean soup.
We're all brown.
We're all brown. So anyway, that's it, guys. So remember to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Radio Road.
Oh boy. It's been a long time.